another IPL5 team review. Yesterday was election day, so I hope you guys, if you were in the States, were able to vote.
With that already?
What's that? We're just going right into it.
Right into the election.
But we're actually going to be taking a look at Meet Playground. Yes. So that's what's going on today. We're going to take a look at one of their old matches. AJ, I think you can tell us a little bit more about this game.
The game is actually the first their first big breakout. It was in the TSM Invitational, and in the first round they played up against TSM, and it was a pretty important match. It was like, okay, up until this point, everyone was like, it wasn't really Meet Playground, it was Pobelter's team.
Yeah.
And before then, it wasn't even Pobelter's team. It was like Atlanta's team.
Yeah.
And then he went over to a Dynamic at the time. It was like, well, now you took over the team. It's like you don't even really have an official name at this point, yet you're still
or a logo
or any. Well,
there's logos out there.
There are many logos out there. 99% of them we will not be using, because I don't want to blind anyone. I think that'd be pretty bad. Never mind. Let's not talk about logos.
What I remember about Meet Playground is that they just became a brand new team.
Yeah.
And then they were seeded into the MLG Arena qualifier. The one where Blaze came out and TSM was there. Yeah. And they were like the 6th or 7th seed, like ahead of CLG and like all these top teams.
Yeah.
We're like, why is it? This makes no sense. So they were just like really seeing them really high, and that was like the first I heard of them. I was like, oh my gosh, Atlanta and Pobelter have a team. I'm sure they're terrible.
Yeah, Atlanta's not on it anymore.
Yeah.
But
no.
That was the start. It was Pobelter. He couldn't stay with Curse.
Yeah.
He was too young to join the house. That was kind of what they had said. But if you look back, there was kind of struggles with the team, and I don't think that they were very happy with Pobelter. And particularly, it was after IPL4. They weren't that pleased with his performance. He was only playing Vladimir the entire tournament, if I remember. And he actually
played some Shen.
Did he play some Shen?
Yeah.
But I remember he played. I remember a couple of people would take advantage of that by running like 80 Nidalee top or Corki or something like that against him. Yeah. And another countdown timer. And they were able to beat him around. So that's kind of interesting. He's moved in the team. He originally, when he joined Curse, so Pobelter, his kind of backstory, he started off and he was one of the original members of Curse before they were Curse, when they were just Liquid's team and they became like XXX and Unrestricted and all these kind of other organizations. And he was actually their mid player. So before Nijaki was on the team, it was Pobelter was in the mid lane, and he played a lot of Scion. That's kind of what he was known for, was his Scion play. And eventually he switched up into the top lane. And so he's kind of back in the mid with this team.
Yeah.
Like that's where he's able to go. Real quick, guys, I just want to throw it out real quick. IGN.com/IPL giveaways. We're supposed to shout that out. So our fancy glasses.
Two of our fancy glasses. You guys.
You can get Nick's glasses. He'll personally sign them.
You can get
that would be a better
glasses
giveaway
if you need to.
The worst giveaway
ever.
Yeah. IGN.com/IPL giveaways. 2 pairs of gunners. Hit a whole bunch of buttons. You'll be entered in to win that.
I think it's funny though watching Meet Playground. Honestly, you watch them and I feel like they kind of suck sometimes. Like you just watch them, and they really fall behind early. They can't make anything happen, but then they just like pull it out some games.
Yeah, and that's something that we see a lot with newer teams. They need to catch their stride, get everything going. Like you were saying before, it's Pobelter's team or Atlanta's team. When a team gets started from a player that just came from a heavy all-star team, that's what you're really going to be focusing on. But it takes a little while to show the other players, which we're going to try to do a little bit here today, and then also moving into IPL5. If they do decently at all, they're coming in with not a bad seed. So we'll be seeing more of that in future tournaments too.
And even then, like after everyone stopped calling up Pobelter's team, they had a really good top laner join in. It was the X Hazard, who at the time was kind of like a man of mystery, huge solo queue player. And
actually, X Hazard was awesome.
Yeah, he subbed for CLG at
MLG, Anaheim, and in Gessel.
And he showed Hotshot how to play Nidalee.
Yeah, which is straight. We should we have an interview clip too from I think before MLG
with
the
really good. And I wouldn't ask you to give away your champions yet. I think you probably have a little bit of an element of surprise. Is that how you feel that you're going to be coming into this tournament and maybe people aren't as used to playing against you, and so maybe you might have an advantage?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just gonna say it because everyone knows I'm a Nidalee player. I've played like 2,000 games of Nidalee, but I don't know if everyone at this tournament knows who I am and that I'm a Nidalee player. So I might be able to get away with Nidalee, and if I get Nidalee, GG.
So Nidalee, we shouldn't tell anybody that they need to ban Nidalee then.
Yeah, please don't tell it. I don't know when this interview is gonna go out. Are they gonna see it before the tournament?
The pros don't watch my YouTube channel anyway. They don't care.
Well,
so I think you're good.
For the whole time.
Right. So
there we go.
So he was known as a Nidalee player, and basically was like, well, you should be threatened by my Nidalee. You should ban Nidalee against us. Even though throughout specifically that tournament, he went like 3-2. Didn't even see a whole lot of play. A lot of times when Nidalee was left open, didn't even bother picking it.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily his fault. He did a
Right.
pretty good job overall with that. He definitely stepped up for the top role in CLG. He meshed with the team decently for the little amount of practice they had. Moving into GESL, they also did really well with him there. Not getting the first place spot, which they were obviously trying for, but still a strong showing for them. So moving into this new team, I think he's going to be a pretty good mix for them, and he has been so far. So. If you want to talk about their road to getting into IPL 5, do you want to talk about that briefly?
It was a really big. It was a relatively easy run for me, but their opponents that they would see in the grand finals were on the absolute warpath because they won the qualifier by beating out IG.
And this is qualifier 3.
Qualifier 3 beat out IG. They beat out CLG Black, CLG Prime, ALNA, Mono Ferris at the time. That was it. Like that was their entire run. Like they took out all these teams, which were all like expected to, eventually qualify. Well, Prime didn't make it in. Mono Ferris, as for they actually made it in through the last qualifier. But to see a team like B Playground destroy someone like IG, especially on the warpath, especially following Worlds after they had so much experience coming on in, it was weird.
IG was crushing people in that tournament. I remember like going into the grand finals how one-sided I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I remember beforehand the IG manager was asking me, he's like, so who is Meat Playground? Like we've never. I was like, well, they're like an online team, really.
You ruined IG. You told them, don't worry about them. They're bad.
I said they're similar to how IPLLoL Blade was at the time.
Okay.
Right. And I was like, they just play online. They don't have a lot of LAN experience, but they're pretty good. He's like, okay. And then they go and they just. I think Meat Playground kind of smacked them around a little bit.
Yeah, they did. Both games were pretty hard stomps, but it was. I don't know. There were a couple of key things from that game. One is Pobelter was playing Morgana both matches, and Pobelter, that's when he's at his best, is when he's playing Morgana. I can't think if I've ever seen him play anything else successfully for them. I mean, he has a couple of other champions that he likes playing, Orianna and Ari in particular, but I think it's really the team fight control that Morgana gave him because they were forcing fights early in the game, and they were just running around as a team, and they would be like, boom, we just AoE'd the shit out of you and won the fight. And that was how they won, is they just had these really nasty AoE fights, and they won every single engagement. They were very aggressive throughout the entire game. And then I believe the second game, IG kind of threw it to a degree. Like I think IG had a lead, and then
it was the Graves that got caught, I think.
I think
AD got caught twice.
I think their AD got caught twice, and then they tried to push the base against Meat Playground, and they were like massively ahead, but they tried to fight Meat Playground 4v5, and Meat Playground was able to win because of that. But it kind of goes to that whole, what's the difference between the team, and they're a Jekyll and Mr. Hyde team. A lot of times when you see them kind of passively in the laning phase, when they play that style that we see a lot of North American teams play, where they're just kind of sitting in their laning phase, they tend to fall behind. A lot of times, Pobelter in particular will get caught out of position or something. But when they're roaming around as a team early on, looking for kills and grouping as a team, they tend to do very well. They tend to snowball games pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're all really strong solo queue players, which is interesting. I mean, so who's on the roster? Pobelter?
So we got Pobelter.
NK Inc. who's
he's really good actually in the jungle. We've seen NK Inc. He's played Nunu is his main. He plays Nunu 90% of his games, and he's always a presence in the jungle. He's very aggressive about counter jungling. He's also played Maokai a lot. So those are the two big ones that you'll see out of him. Mumu a couple of times, but Nunu is his bread and butter, and he's very strong at Nunu. He puts a lot of pressure on the map.
Yep, even in just like personal talks with NK Inc., like there's still some champs out there which are still sitting on the back burner, which have yet to be brought out.
Oh, really?
There's still a few secret weapons in the arsenal just for the jungle alone.
And before we get into talking about the rest of the players on the roster, the game that you guys are about to be seeing,
yes,
this is a game from the Solomid.net Invitational.
Yes, so this is
number 9.
I believe number 9. Okay. So this is first round. First round they get matched up against TSM, and they brought it to game 3. They managed to take off one game, and it's interesting to see. We've talked about new teams, like, they're either incredibly hot or incredibly cold, and we always want to show, like, how incredibly hot MP can be if they're given an early advantage, if they're caught playing tournament on the right day.
And that's what they're going to be looking for going into IPL 5. They're going to be going up against a lot of star-studded lineups, so if they can do exactly what they do in this game here, then it
could be pretty devastating.
Pretty good.
It could be pretty insane, but also remember though that this is an online team for the most part. The LAN experience is not complete across the entire team. Pobelter's had some LAN experience. Xhazard's had some. That's about it though.
They have to make sure that they're really aggressive. They put the foot to the pedal kind of though, because like you said, they can beat any team in the world really if they get off to a good start and if they're really pressuring the early game. But if they sit back, then honestly, I don't think they can stall for late game. I don't think that they're the kind of team that can just hold off and be like, we'll win eventually. Because every single match that you look at them, if they're not, being the aggressors, if they're not the team to strike first in the early game, they fall behind a lot of times. But they have the talent there. Individually, mechanically, and everything, the talent's definitely there. And King's a very strong jungler. Light Sludge in the bottom lane, he's been a very strong AD. He's mostly played Ezreal. Like, I'd have to say, Light Sludge, it's probably like 80% of the games we've seen him, he's played Ezreal. Corki's his number 2. And Ezreal's seen some nerfs. So, that's going to be interesting to see how he adjusts if he continues to play Ezreal to a large extent. He's actually playing Ezreal in this game, and that's his bread and butter. So, we'll kind of see how that works, but he's really strong. This is interesting. Who's actually playing on this right now?
This is not actually the full roster we're going to be seeing at IPL 5. So let's see, we have Nothing Real is in here, and we also got Spellzy, who are still early members.
Nothing Real or Nothing Here?
Nothing Here.
Okay.
Nothing Here.
So Nothing Here is replacing Xhazard.
Is it Nothing Real? Wasn't he the AD for Mono a long time ago that was kicked off?
That's right. Yeah. There's too many nothings.
Different person.
Nothing Here. Nothing Here and Spellzy, who would eventually actually go to Absolute Legends NA, but they were still early members of MP at the time. I mean, you still got Light Sludge. You got of course, Pobelter's in here too. So.
It's interesting. Spellzy is running support for them right now. Their main support now is Erwin Booz. And it was Spellzy, Erwin Booz, and Batoy when Dignitas was looking to pick up another support. Those are the 3 supports that everyone was mentioning as potential pickups. So that's going to be interesting to see. I know Erwin now on the team, he's very aggressive. Blitzcrank is his number 1 champion as a support. And he'll play Sona a lot as well. But they're the OP champions. That's kind of, if you look at a lot of their team, that's what they play, except for Pobelter. He's been kind of experimenting. He's been trying to run Xerath. He's tried running, Jarvan mid, any number of unusual things. But the one that he has the most success with is Morgana. He's really strong at hitting the vines, but he just provides his team so much AoE fight control, particularly when they combo with Malphite, which is a common team setup for them.
Yeah, and going back to Erwin Booz, not being seen in this game here, but like you're saying, Blitzcrank and Sona are his most popular competition champions. But if you look at his solo queue record, he's pretty much the highest ranked Janna player, depending on how you look at the statistics of that. If you take into fact ELO and who he plays against, team impact and things like that. So talking about some of the other supports in the previous team reviews, the Janna is going to be a really hard hitter at IPL 5. So having that experience in solo queue is really going to help his team if they can get some solid practice with that as they overcome.
Nick, I think you said that Gosu Pepper said that Janna was going to be like the number 1 support coming forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it may just be me, Playground, and N5 like fighting over Janna. They may actually have just the 2 teams may have just complete free reign over Janna.
Well, I think the new Cog is probably going to be really common.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a lot of Janna, but we're going to see a ton of Nunu as well. So it should be interesting. But yeah, Erwin Booz and Light Sludge are just an insane combo bottom lane, like you guys have been saying. Pobelter
very safe, and I think they're really underrated as far as AD and supports are concerned.
Yeah. Well, I haven't
really seen them lose any matches.
Pobelter is talking about, he's like, Light Sludge, honestly, dude, seriously, he's the best AD carry in North America.
Yeah. I can't think of a game that I've seen them lose. IG games, we talked about how them grouping up against IG was key, but IG's bot lane is incredibly aggressive. Every single time they hit level 2 on Ezreal, you see them dive in and go for kills. And Meat Playground actually turned it around on them and won against the early level 2 aggression.
Oh man.
Who did you say said Light Sludge was?
Pobelter's always like, he's like,
yeah.
I mean, of course he's biased,
Right.
but because I was like, hey man,
It's like, oh, we got the best AP carry, we have the best top lane. Oh my God, we're the greatest team ever.
well, I would joke around with him a lot, like, hey man, when are you gonna get a real team? What is this Meat Playground thing? And he'd be like, are you serious? Light Sludge is the best AD carry in North America. Like, I'm not gonna abandon that guy. He's just too good.
No, that's really cool.
but I mean, I agree. Like, I've never seen him lose the lane. It's usually somewhere else on the map is where stuff's going down.
Honestly, a lot of their team comes down to what happens with Pobelter in the mid lane, whether or not he can get going or not. Sometimes he plays a little bit too aggressively and he gets caught by enemy junglers.
He plays really aggressive.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Reggie in that way. He'll like dive you and you think the jungler's there, but he's not, so you're totally faked out.
Yeah, kind of old Reggie.
Yeah, and then Flash Ultimate is just like every time it's up. Every time it's up, Flash Ult with Morgana. So
I gotta say though, like, just the way like Pobelter's champion picks, I can see still like some of the elements of things that he learned while he was with Curse in there. Because also remember that Morgana is one of the bigger threats like on Nine Jackie. Also, I think he's like one of the most champions they have banned against them. So I'm wondering if there's still like if he's really applying everything he's learned and now bringing it to this new team.
Yeah, it is kind of similar to some of the teams we've seen from Curse in the past, where they'd have that AoE with Morgana. Usually they'd run something like Shyvana or something, but NK Inc. running the Mundo and being extremely aggressive, and that's something we've seen from NK Inc. a lot in the past. He's actually a really strong NA jungler, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So I want to go back to Light Sludge for a little bit though, because where exactly did he come from?
Solo queue? I can't remember.
The wonderful land of solo queue.
Yeah, I don't remember him on anything.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just all these players just like popped up like White Sludge and X Hazard, just like, hey, you're really good solo queue players. Like it's time. We should get you on a team.
Well, it's just a lot of it's building friendships with these players. Like in X Hazard's case, him and I think Hotshot or him and Chowster or something were doing a lot together. So when the spot came up, it's like, well, I played with this guy before. I know he's competent and knows how to listen and those kind of things. So, I mean, I imagine it's something similar with Light Sludge and building friendships with people that are like on these teams or.
That was kind of unusual. I'm surprised Odd One didn't go in for that gank. Like, there was no vision on Malphite. He was kind of pushed up. He could have, I mean, I guess he didn't want to pull Dyrus into a dangerous spot, but he could have at least kind of threatened him out of lane for a second. But yeah, we'll kind of, I don't know, just have to see what they're going to look to be doing against TSM because. I mean, I know they won, but I don't really know a lot about this game.
Don't spoil it.
Well, I thought we said earlier they won, didn't we?
Nope.
No? Well, they won.
All we said is it goes to game 3 in the series.
They always win. We pick them winning.
Oh, this is game 3.
This is game 3 in the series.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's 1-1 at this point.
So 1-1 against TSM, one of the best teams in North America. This is one of their first breakout tournaments, and they don't even have 2 of their better players at the moment.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I only assume they won because we always pick people winning.
So far,
that's true.
Well, now when we go to the other teams, we're gonna intentionally pick games where they all lose.
All right, that's
just to show them.
So this team might be doing well in IPL5, but we don't know.
Or they might be terrible. That's what we should have done, is shown one of the games where they're terrible and just been like, look at Meat Playground, they're coming to our tournament.
That's no good.
Oh, so this must have been right when Zyra came out and she was really
She was
strong.
so big.
She was way too strong. Okay, because I remember a lot of people stopped using her in mid once she got nerfed down.
Yeah, well, that was the beginning of the transition to support Zyra even.
Oh my God, that's like the worst timing ever.
Yeah.
NK Inc. literally just walked top as Odd One left the lane, and he just missed him.
Oh, he's trying though.
Worst timing or best, depending on how you look at it.
Well, I don't think he's getting out
nothing
of
here.
this.
If he gets that, he's actually he's got it.
There you go.
Nice.
So that's actually a really nice early advantage, and they really are a team that does very well with early advantages. They really thrive off of that. So it was kind of just an unlucky situation by TSM, but not a lotot of ward coverage from either of them. Reggie has no mana. What is he doing?
He's just trying to auto attack.
He just flashes to auto attack him to death.
And then the
Man.
He's gonna get it.
He's
No.
just going for it.
I mean, he's. I think Pobelter's gonna kill him. The minions are gonna kill him. All right. Well, it's better than. Oh, he could have actually, if he had kept running, suicided.
That's what I think he's probably.
passed
Oh, he
it.
did get the suicide.
He didn't do it because he turned around.
Yeah.
If he had kept
That would've been
chasing,
nice.
he might have been able to suicide for the kill.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
But
for
you
anyone
saw
at home.
Pobelter did a good job of coming up into that top lane to follow behind Reginald. So, you know, you're already seeing some of that map control. I mean, they're really good about moving around as a team, and so when they group up like that, it's really strong. So he was trying to come up, trying to kill Reginald. Didn't really find an opportunity there.
And NK Inc. just shoving Mundo around, or sorry, shoving Oddwin around. Really strong early advantage. Mundo's kind of fallen off a little bit. Why is that?
I mean, a couple of people play him. He's still, you know, he's not. He's fallen off in the sense that he used to be played every single game.
Yeah, he was huge for a while.
He's still played, you know, pretty significantly. I think just, I don't know, other junglers are significantly stronger. People like Maokai and Skarner a lot to just, you know, be really aggressive with ganking. Mundo's, you know, just an all-around strong jungler. He gives you good map control. He's a tanky body in team fights later on. But
Also,
I just think other stronger junglers are really strong.
and then also remember that in terms of junglers, we've moved into like the full-on GP10 meta, and Mundo can only benefit from one of the four.
Yeah.
He can only get Heart of Gold. There's no point in him getting something like Philo Stone or the Lucky Pick, or let alone the average
Oh my
play. Let's not
gosh.
even think about that one.
I think he's actually
never
going to
goes-
live.
yeah, he's not going
Oh
down.
my god,
Wow.
and Chaos is dead. So that's actually, I mean, this is where they really thrive, is just picking people off. A lot of times they don't go for necessarily 4 kills or something like that with Morgana, just 1 kill with Morgana.
Yeah.
And I think that really is honestly going to be the biggest key for them is, Pobelter to become as competent with other champions as he is with Morgana, and also for them to pressure fights early on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Pobelter on like Orianna
Yeah.
come IPL 5 because of her popularity.
And we've
right
seen him play Orianna some,
Yeah.
just not quite the same extent. I mean, it's the hard CC that Morgana gives outside of the ultimate. It's just really devastating. He hits those binds really well, and it's a free kill.
We saw Morgana at Worlds a lot too.
Yeah.
Just like a really safe pick, really aggressive in the team fights. So I totally understand it. I mean, would that be a must ban then against Meat Playground? Would you ban
Yeah, I
Morgana?
would ban
yeah.
Morgana every
Okay.
single game. And IG didn't. We were talking about it in the
Yeah.
cast. We were like, all right, so Morgana, dominated game number 1. So Pobelter, that's his main champion. That's like all he plays. Ban Morgana. Game number 2 comes around. They didn't ban Morgana. Morgana did really well again. So
Dominated.
Big surprise.
same thing with Malphite. They
Big massive
let them
surprise.
have Malphite and Morgana both
That's
games,
ridiculous.
which is just really strong AOE. And X Hazard, his best champions. We've talked about the Nidalee, but it's really Malphite. He
Malphite's
plays
good too.
Malphite almost all the time.
And Rumble too,
Rumble
right?
some,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Rumble's really strong. Well, there was a period of time when Rumble was like
Yeah, everyone
the
plays him.
strongest top laner. Yeah.
And there's still,
And then
still
there was
plenty of guys that play him though. Like his size.
Oh yeah, he's still
Oh, yeah.
still viable.
The funnier thing is there was a period of time before Rumble was the strongest top lane ever, where he was actually stronger, and no one played him.
Oh yeah.
So he was insanely strong.
Oh, with the bug in the game? Is that what
No,
you're talking about?
no,
Oh.
he was just OP. He
Oh,
was
really?
OP
The
as hell,
ratios were
and
just insane.
his ratios and
He would just
base
spit out.
damage and everything were insane, and no one played him. And that was like for a year. I remember when he was first released, his damage was like on every single skill, it was like twice as much as it is now.
Wow.
Literally twice as much.
And
So
no
he would
one
do
played him?
he would do thousands of points of damage, and no one would play him. And then like Big Fat GG, he played him a couple of times, and everyone went, holy cow, Rumble's like the greatest champion ever. Why don't we all play him more? And then no one played him. And then 6 months later, someone else picked them up again, and people were like, holy, what the hell? Why is he the greatest champion ever? He's so powerful. And no one played him for a little bit. Then another couple of months passed, and people were like, all right, finally, we'll start playing Rumble, and then they nerfed him. And then after they nerfed him, people started playing him.
I'm
But
gonna
it wasn't
say-
until he was nerfed that people played him.
But right before the nerf was that necessity when he hit that 60% win rate.
Oh,
in ranked
was that what that
60%.
was?
Well,
Okay.
that's when it got ridiculous.
The end of the summer, pretty much every single Korean team, if you ask them who's the strongest champion, Rumble, 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 Rumble.
Oh, really?
Everybody said that, no matter what position they were. So,
Wow.
like, that was probably the point, I guess, right before
Yeah,
the nerf nerf happened.
That right there's actually a really good example of some of the things we've seen from Meat Playground that kind of hurts them some in the past. Reginald completely baited out. Right before that play, Reginald baited out Pobelter, and he kind of ran at Pobelter, and Pobelter got excited in the mid lane. He was like pushed up right to the tower. He's like, oh, I'm going to get the kill on Reginald. And then he flashed out last second, and Maokai came back in, and they were able to take that kill. And a lot of times you do see him really extend for those kills. So that's, for other teams, something that they can take advantage of. But it's something to kind of keep in mind for Meat Playground to try and, maybe keep an eye on the enemy jungler and not press until you know that you're safe.
That, and also knowing when Pobelter is going for the ganks in the other lanes, because we see him roaming a lot with Morgana.
Yep.
So it's something you can take advantage of if you time it out properly.
Ooh, diving that tower, so much damage.
Is he actually going to get
that NK Inc. is always in the right place in this game.
Look at
That's how you can tell a strong jungler is where their positioning is when, stuff happens, when the team is losing. If they're there to counter it out and come back.
Off that bind.
They're going to get it. NK Mundo is one of the best tower divers in the game. So.
Yeah, his mid game is ridiculous.
Yeah. But I mean, it's wild because you're watching this game. It seems like TSM's making all the plays, and yet there's a 5K gold advantage for Meat Playground. It's 9-3. They're doing a really good job of countering out what TSM's doing, and part of that comes to moving around a lot as a team. So just being ready, and Pobelter's doing a good job of moving out of that mid lane, but also their top and bot, because their top and bot laners are very strong. They're very safe. They don't necessarily pressure lanes usually. Usually their goal is to just be safe and let the enemy teams make mistakes. But they have really strong top and bot lane that allows them to, kind of counter out those ganks and counter out the aggression from TSM.
Yeah, they're shutting down Chaos pretty well too, which is also an important part of stopping TSM. Chaos is really, really hurting right now. I don't see Chaos lose a lot. I mean, their bot lane similar to.
Well, up until Worlds.
Yeah, up until Worlds, and everything changed.
Everything was different.
Nice.
But this is right when Ezreal was coming to the height of his popularity, and Chaos.
Just that combination is so incredibly powerful early in the game, and then with that slight lead they got in the jungle invasion, it just snowballs from there.
But if you remember, Chaos was just in love with Graves, and the Korean teams at the time, they were all playing Graves almost exclusively, and that was all Chaos would play. He would play Corki as his backup, but it gives them a really strong late game. Graves was incredibly powerful in team fights and still is, but Ezreal has an early game advantage, and that was right when Ezreal was becoming popular. Light Sludge was just playing the hell out of him.
He needed a nerf.
He did need a nerf.
He's a little bit strong.
Yeah, he's still really good.
He's still really strong, really safe. I mean, so much of it is how safe he is in the early game, and Graves is somewhat safe too. I mean, that's why the Holy Trinity.
Well, he can farm very effectively. He can push lanes back and forth. So being able to control the minion waves allows him to farm safely. But I don't know. I think at this point, because Ezreal has a slight lead, you have to consider their towers down as well. Unless they can try and take advantage of the fact that they're pushing up. Meat Playground's kind of in a situation where they can just keep on pressuring that bot lane, keep on pushing it up to the second turret, and completely deny Chaos and try and just prevent him from, farming it all. And it also opens up avenues for Pobelter to just run right over to the right side. He doesn't have to worry about coming in behind turrets and pick up fights over at their blue. And so they just run in, they control the blue, and they have control of the whole bottom half of the map now.
Yeah, when you have that lead, you can just ward the enemy jungle and just keep complete tabs on them. And that's what we're seeing now, and it makes it so they can push up that far. And poke the poke is too strong with that combo.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit in previous reviews about the ADs and champs outside of the Trinity, not Corki, Graves, or Ezreal. We've talked a little bit about Vayne and
Mundo's
Caitlyn
regen
and
is
everything.
so high.
But I can't recall Light Sludge actually playing many champs outside of that Trinity, though.
No, like we said, he played Ezreal 80% of his games, Corki the other 20%. I mean, that's, those are. I mean, I'm sure he's played a few other champions, probably Graves and whatnot, but those are
and with the other players on your team, with Pobelter and Xhazard, bans from the enemy team are really going to need to be focused around them. So the enemy is not going to be banning out more than 1 or 2 AD champions. So that leaves enough for Light Sludge to be able to play only 3 and still be okay.
Right. I was wondering, in the off chance that we'll see an Ezreal ban and like an enemy team like takes Graves, like now what? Like
Corky.
What do you do now? You got Corky, or it's just like yeah. So what? It's just thinking about those situations where you're placed somewhere where you cannot pick one of your top 3, and I'm wondering how much experience Light Sludge has outside of the Trinity.
And that's true of all of the players on Meat Playground, I think, is having that champion diversity. But I feel like Light Sludge is a strong enough player, from what we've seen of him, that it shouldn't be a concern. But that is, something you have to watch out. How is he going to deal with, not being able to play his #1 champion? This game, honestly, it feels like TSM just kind of rolled over, crawled into a corner, and died. They fell behind
at
early.
each other right now.
And you see Meat Playground, they just keep on taking everything, and TSM's not really retaliating. They do get a kill there, so that's nice. But they're really being pressuring the entire map, and it's just working out for them.
But that's another important thing. A lot of times we talk about the North American teams where they'll get a lead earlier on, but they won't be able to close it. And we're seeing them get that lead and just push. Right. Every single lane, they're constantly ganking. They're constantly trying to push up the turrets. Already 2 turrets down in the bottom lane.
Meat Playground is great at closing. That's one thing you have to say for them, and I've never seen them get off to an early start and then not finish it. And a lot of times we'll see, if they lose game 1 miserably, then game 2 and game 3 they'll come back and blow the other team out of the water.
Yeah, and that's it's good news to hear, because you see a lot of teams like as they were just starting to take because remember when Dynamic was still young and fresh, still right new in the scene, they would have these gigantic leads and kind of became infamous for throwing, quite frankly, because they didn't know how to close. They didn't know how to end when games ended up going a little bit too long.
So how are they going to take that online experience where they are good at closing and apply it to the LAN experience? Is that going to be something that they're going to have trouble adjusting with, or do you think it's just going to be, all right, we're playing on 5 computers next to each other instead of online?
I think it speaks to just the experience, the collective experience this young in their team life cycle, which, as opposed to most teams, it's a little bit actually on the higher end, because they've had a little bit more solo queue experience than other teams have had, and they also have a healthy mix. Pobelter and X-Hazard, they had the tournament experience. They realized, like, listen, we need to close. When you had a team like Dynamic, when they're that was like no tournament experience, only online players, only solo queue, they didn't really get that far. They were only pretty much used to playing in solo queue, and when your team gets frustrated, they just surrender. They never got to that point.
I think it's interesting seeing this game compared with a lot of the other teams that we've been seeing recently internationally, and how Meat Playground, they're tending to walk around in pockets of groups of 3 and 2, as opposed to fully grouping as a team, which is what we've seen a lot. And it's working out very well for them in picking people off and getting kills. But I'm curious what'll happen when they're running around as a group of 3 and Pobelter runs to try and get a kill, and all of a sudden he runs into TPA and all 5 of their members are in one area early in the game, and they're just all bearing down on you. He's like, "Hey, what's going on, guys? Why are they down here? Did you call MIA? I forgot to call MIA."
They have Morgana and they have Alistar and they have all the champs that Meat Playground wanted to get. It could be a shock. It could be a huge shock. And hopefully, if something like that happens, it'll happen early on, like game 1. I could see Meat Playground having a problem if they end up having TP in their group.
Well, hopefully they end up expecting it,
right?
Coming into the tournament,
and
that's something they really need to plan for. Is all right. They fall behind early sometimes. Yeah. How do we get off to an early lead against these teams that are really good at grouping up and playing very safely?
Yeah.
And how do we keep it? And I think partially it's going to be a pressure on NK Inc. He's been very strong, so I think he's going to handle it well. But getting in early oracles to counter out some of that great ward coverage that we've seen, because I looking at some of the foreign teams in particular. We're seeing a lot more early wards than we do in the NA scene or even in the EU scene. So that's going to be pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, like I feel Meat's going to be a team that struggles in the group stage but really excels in the brackets. Like, I can see them starting off in the losers bracket but just smashing through the entire thing.
They've also got the advantage because they are younger players, so they're not going to be allowed to go out and drink or gamble when they're in Vegas. So.
Which this is actually a serious consideration.
Yeah,
it really
honestly.
is. It really is, because when you have a team like Curse, like, oh hey, we lost, we're 1-3 in groups. Let's party. Like, you know, it's the discipline.
Well, that's not partying. It's Curse decides between partying and consoling themselves. So they went 1-3 in groups, then they're out consoling themselves.
But that is also like the young team mentality too. Is like, hey, this is our first big event. We qualify for this. We earn this. We need to make sure that we make the best of our situation.
Get a sponsor, continue it going.
Right, exactly. Like this is their big point. Like, even what happened with Mono after IPL4 is like, well, Dynamic picked them up. This is Meat's opportunity here to really show their stuff. Show sponsors like, hey, listen, we're dead serious about this. Look at our performance and
then try and continue it and try and get into season 3.
Yeah, and as they've shown, they are potentially one of the strongest North American teams. On any given day, they can beat any of the established North American teams.
Right.
Is Pobelter old enough for season 3?
I can't believe that TSM.
I think he will be. I think he will be.
Maybe just barely, because you got to be 17 before February. Yeah. Could be very close.
So be the baby of the league.
So that last team fight, Meat Playground, you see they kind of like to kite and then just pick people off like single targets with Morgana, or just get a nice initiation with Malphite. But they're kind of split, so a little bit of disorganization. I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see that kind of dichotomy when they have a 10k gold lead for them to lose to TSM, when Zyra and Rumble, they're pretty weak, and Graves are pretty weak against Malphite. So they're strong champions overall, they have a lot of damage, but if you get a strong initiation from your team, and you can just burst them down pretty quickly. So they have to be kind of questioning themselves for a moment with such an incredible gold lead to fall behind in that team fight.
Well, they fell behind immediately because Spellsy got caught off initially, and they were just being a little too over-aggressive. So it was a swing in the other direction for
TSM had a nice spread also. They weren't
that
caught
as well. They went into something that they knew they had the team advantage, but they didn't have the positional advantage, and they pushed it a little bit too hard. But then they learned from it. They backed off. They grabbed the red out of TSM's jungle. They grabbed the dragon, met back up after the respawn timers hit.
Oh, nice.
This is what's happening after it.
Yeah, it's a good team.
Zyra trying. There's the
more old.
And remember,
and Light Sludge is safe, so keeping the AD safe is always the key. He seems to be getting off really good damage the entire fights, while still keeping himself safe. So that's going to be really huge.
And for most of that fight, nothing here wasn't even there. He was actually like up over the Baron pit. Like, let's just kill time. And even just in a 4v5, they managed to push him back.
Yeah, no, there's a surrender. Okay, I was going to say they're going to push the Nexus.
That was it.
TSM realized it as well, so they GG'd out.
So that's that's it right there. Proof positive. Meat Playground is more than capable of smashing completely some of the best teams in the world.
And it's easy to say that their roster currently is better than their roster in
in
this match. So
Absolutely.
they have a lot of...
they've definitely improved their roster a lot, yeah.
No offense to the two players that are not going to...
No, they're very good too. Spellsy.
They're still the wild card. AL could actually make it into the wild card.
Yeah, that's true.
So get voting if you want to see Spellsy actually make it back and play against Meat Playground for a little bit of revenge.
That could be interesting. That could be really interesting. I'd like to see that. I wouldn't mind that. All right, so we've gone through the match. We have to give our top 3 points again.
Okay.
So what do we got for Meat Playground then?
I'll start. So I think the key thing is Pobelter is going to need to have a main champion that isn't going to get banned out. So if it's Morgana, then needs to be prepared to have something else in his arsenal to play, and he needs to play it with the same efficiency and mechanics as he would with Morgana. So that's, I think, the first thing. The second thing is Light Sludge needs to play really safe down in the bot lane. He needs to farm well and continue to play his game. And third, I think NK Inc. needs to have a significant presence in lane and continue to stay aggressive, because that's what we saw. That's what won them that game. NK Inc.'s presence in the top lane was really beneficial to them for the late game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with some of those things. I think that another big thing for them is putting on, while you're right, Pobelter, he needs to have some more main champions that he's comfortable with. I think that they need to be able to put on early pressure, so grouping as a team, and in particular grouping as a team so that they don't get themselves in a dangerous situation, because a lot of times it's kind of Pobelter running in his own or NK Inc. So they have to be ready for a full team of 5 to be like 10 minutes into the game, be like, wow, everyone is here, everyone's in this fight. So that comes with good map control with wards, getting out in early oracles. So I'll kind of break those into 2 things. So map control with wards and oracles, and then moving around as a team, being fluid and grouping early, because that's when they excel, is when they can group early and pick up those fights. And then also getting Light Sludge just to a position where he can carry. So being able to control the front line in team fights, that's why Pobelter, he's been trying champions like Anivia, because I think it's partially because he really respects Light Sludge a lot as an AD. He knows that if he can control the front line with Anivia, then Light Sludge is going to be able to win those fights. So put Light Sludge in a position to succeed because he is such a strong AD carry, and that should be pretty good for them.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say that obviously Pobelter is going to need to have a deep enough lineup that he has options available to him, but that's also going to carry over to the top lane and the jungle as well. So the entire team needs to have a little bit more depth prepared for IPL 5. Not that much more, but just a little bit more practice, which they have time to be able to do. Then they're going to need to have the resolve to be able to play throughout the entire LAN experience and just continue to play at their peak through, like, even if something goes wrong. So I guess it's also my third one is not to get too excited. They're a young team. There's going to be a lot of emotions that are going to be in play. So it's going to be important that someone is there as kind of like the big brother that keeps the team together if they don't get a lead earlier on. We see that they can close out when they do get that lead, but you got to have the converse as well. So I think those 3 points are going to be the out of game things that they're going to need to work on.
Yeah, the champion diversity, not just with Pobelter, but just across the entire board needs to be there. If everyone on the team can pick up at least like 1 or 2 more champs before we actually get to IPL 5, they're going to be in a much better situation. NK Inc. with the aggression in jungle, because remember, this is also going to be a very aggressive-oriented tournament. So many teams, they like that aggressive play, and NK, we saw there he's very capable of having the presence where he needs to be for things like counter ganks. He needs to keep that up. And most important thing I feel with a lot of new teams, they have a tendency to throw away group stage. They tend to perform worse in best of 1s as opposed, but best of 3s they perform very well. But if they throw away group stage and they start out in losers bracket, that can nearly double the number of matches that they play if they actually make it to like something like top 4, and exhaustion can head in. And we've talked a little bit about how some of the team is not as experienced as some other parts of the team. That may be a factor.
So they got to keep that bedtime, and then
they definitely yes, they'll be fine. Get that Red Bull flowing.
That's a great point. Is if they can try and catch people by surprise. We've seen they're really good at closing games if they get off to an early advantage. So if they try and catch people by surprise in the group stage, just best of 1, you win 3 matches in group stage, you're through. Or 2 matches. If you win 2 matches in group stage, you're up into the upper bracket. And then instead of being 8 matches to get to the championship, it's like 3 matches, 4 matches. So it's really a huge difference, and that teams don't have time to prepare for everyone for the group stage necessarily. So it's that's actually a really great point. And a lot of times we do see they in best of 3s. Sometimes they struggle in the game 1 and then come back game 2 or 3. Well, that's going to be important for them to come right off the bat and be able to just stick it to them, just be able to win early.
Cool. So I think we pretty much covered about all of it. Yeah. So I think we're pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
that's it.
I'm
Thanks,
excited.
guys.
I'm excited to see Meat Playground in IPL 5 because they could just beat a bunch of really good teams and surprise everybody, and it would be an amazing underdog story.
Yes.
So good luck to them.
They're definitely the big underdogs for the NA scene, but they definitely have the skill, they have the power, and then on any good day they can take out some of the best teams in the world.
Should be good.
That's about it for us. We will see you guys next time. I think we're actually going to be going over Black Bean next. We're going to be the unknowns from Thailand.
And the only team with a female player.
Yes.
In IPL 5.
In IPL 5, sorry.
The only
in
team with
IPL
female
5.
player in IPL 5 that will actually be playing. I don't know.
I'm not sure what that was going for, but
TPA has their
Cole and
oh, that's right.
Remember?
I thought you were going to be like TSM's, female roster members. Or groupies, or I don't know.
Anyway, we'll be back next time with Black Bean. Join us then. We'll see you guys next time.